Thank you for listening to the Invisible Marketer podcast. I'm Kalina, your host, and in this episode, I sat down with Rob from Soul Source Connections. We met during a 5-day challenge hosted by my mentor, Doug. What really blew me away was that Rob, within just a couple of weeks, he was already hosting his first 5-day workshop, and he was teaching people how to become confident on camera. In this episode, Rob shares the strategies that propelled him into action. I want you to get ready for some inspiring insights from a true action taker. Let's dive on in.
I really want to thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Thanks, Colleen. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
I've been following along because I'm so inspired by the action that you're taking in your business. Can you briefly describe what it is that you do for your clients and what you do in your business?
Soul Source Studios is a play on my last name. Of course, my last name is Soul, S-O-U-L, actually on my birth certificate, which is a funny surprise to some people. They think it's a stage name. The inspiration really for it is I've been a part of some communities online that there's a lot of people speaking up about their own struggles in front of the camera, and they want to produce content or they want to be a course creator, and they just don't know where to start when it comes to how to make themselves presentable is the catch-all for it. And I don't mean presentable in a physically attractive way on camera, but having the ability to speak about what they want to speak about, stay clear and true to their message, and convey that in a way that will get people to take notice and pay attention.
I absolutely love that because I'm a huge introvert. It's been so hard for me just to get out there on camera. So I love that you're being able to empower them and teach them strategies that really made your stage presence so great. When you go out there and you're presenting during your workshop, it's just like you've done this for a long time.
Yeah, this is a relatively new venture, actually, the actual company of Soul Source Studios and that. But my background goes well back into college. I was an introvert myself, by the way. Some people wouldn't guess by now, especially if you know me outside of social media or the computer screen, because I'm a loud and wild and crazy sort of person when I'm not trying to focus. But I was not a popular kid in high school at all. We had our little circle of friends. I got out of high school. I went to college. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have much direction, but I wound up working for Disney, and I ended up learning a lot there and really busted out of my shell in terms of my personality, and I found myself. And that was a big part of it because confidence really comes from within and from being comfortable with yourself. But then in terms of the presentation type of stuff and being in front of people and that kind of thing, that was part of it. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going back to college. I'm going to get my degree in radio, TV, and film. And so that was the other kind of piece of it where I got a whole bunch of knowledge in the classroom as well as practical experience. It was a program at a 4-year university. It was not a specialty school or anything. I went to San Jose State in the Bay Area of California, which is up by San Francisco. And the program there is a very hands-on kind of program for radio, TV, and film. So I was a part of stage play productions. I was a part of a college radio station that broadcasted 24/7, 365 days a year. I was a part of a TV production studio that produced the news. There was a lot of different ways to get dirty and to get real experience. It's just a college radio station or a TV production, whatever, but the hands-on application of what you were learning really helped to hone in on how to do it, because anything that you want to get better at, you got to do. That's a fact of life. So I had a really good, fortunate experience there. And I think the two kind of came together and let me know that this was my path.
As an introvert, there are so many misconceptions that I have encountered just over the last couple of months. I'm curious to know if there are any that really stands out to you.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is that you need to just put something out there and people see it. Put this thing together, this video or whatever. I put this post together. And at first you got a learning curve going on and everything. And so you do all this stuff and you put this thing out there and and you relax and then nothing happens, right? It's just crickets. It's 2 people saw it because nobody's seeing your stuff yet. First start out, the algorithm certainly hasn't grabbed you. There isn't any way unless you get out there a bunch, right? You stay consistent. I guess the most discouraging discouraging that you have to push through is you put something out there and maybe you spend a couple of days putting something out there or even half a week or something, and then nothing's happening. And so you stop. And that's the last thing you want to do. The fact that nobody's paying attention and nobody's seeing your stuff right now is a blessing because it means that there's nobody out there to judge you, right? So you're not going up against this menacing idea of, oh, I'm going to put this out there and it's going to be so embarrassing because people are going to see it and write all kinds of nasty things in the comments or whatever. Nobody's seeing your stuff yet. Okay. So take your time to craft it and to make it right and to figure out what you like and what you didn't like about your own content, right? Watch your stuff back. That's another big piece that I think a lot of people are afraid to watch their stuff back because they know that they're going to find this, that, and the other thing in there that they don't like. And now they're going to be self-conscious about it even more. And I get that. And it's a hard thing to get past, but the getting past the self-consciousness to the point where you can look at it and you can say to yourself, okay, this needs to be improved. This needs to be done differently next time. Then that's how you get to the point where you get happy with your content. But if you don't ever look at it, you don't ever analyze it, then you don't ever have that experience of being able to see where can I tweak it and how can I manage to make this better, right? And so that whole thing of it's like a strange dichotomy of you're afraid of being judged, but at the same time, you put something out there and then nobody sees it. So that's discouraging, but you could flip that and say, okay, the good thing is that nobody saw it because it was embarrassing on this level, and I'll need to fix that. And then you go about fixing it and just craft and tweak and see where you go with it.
I absolutely love that because I know having only 50 views on your videos on Instagram after you put 30 minutes into trying to figure out how to post it, it can be so discouraging. So I love that aspect and that way to look at things. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, sure. Or even 5 views sometimes, or don't be discouraged by that. So here's something that I just learned recently, if I may. I have never done short form video before. And recently, you and I were both in a challenge all through February where the whole goal was to post a piece of short form content every day. And I was looking forward to it. I'm an action taker and yeah, give me the chance, give me the ball, I'll run with it. But I didn't know what I was doing at first. And I tried a couple of ideas at first. And if you went on my Instagram and looked, the 29 days of straight posting, the first 3 are vastly different than the whole rest of it. And I thought I had this cool idea that I was going to do. And after a couple of days, I realized this was not really what anybody else was doing, number one, which can be a good thing, but there's a reason that other people aren't doing it. And it's because it's not effective, right? In most cases. I dropped that and I went to a different idea and a different format. And I found that actually the most, I guess if you wanted to call it prolific content, it's not, but the content that's getting me hundreds of views instead of 12 or 5 or whatever is just me talking in front of the camera, just me being me. And so I guess that would be the other piece of advice that we came around to through that is that's the biggest thing I learned. Number 1, stay consistent and do it every day. But number 2, people want to see you, right? They don't want to see a black screen with some message come across and some catchy music and then a slideshow video this and in 6 seconds. Now, at some point, yeah, maybe that's something your brand can be known for, but people need to get to know you first. And that's what they're interested in. And that's the big takeaway I had.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, that's what I've done with my challenge is I'm posting videos about myself, or even if I did do with text and stuff, there was a powerful message behind it, or I did a voiceover. So I have tried to do that, incorporate that into my social media. Do you feel that for you, what platform is it that you gravitate towards the most?
Wow, I'm trying to figure that out myself right now. So Facebook is where I've been most active. And in addition to Soul Source Studios, which is my overarching brand, I do teach chess to kids in after school programs. And so I have been on Facebook with my company. It's called Kids in Chess, and it's on Facebook with a business page and everything. And that business page I've had since I think 2015. And I really have grown a large following there. It's getting, I think I have 8,700 something followers with that page, but there's not a lot of engagement there, I will say. But that's where I've always been growing the easiest and the best is on Facebook. And now too, it's interesting. I never did anything with my personal page. And recently, again, with this new concept and coming up with Soul Source Studios, I have now taken my Facebook page and turned it to professional mode, and I post regularly there as well. And I started to get into those forums that I was talking about before and start to interact there a lot more and starting to add friends from those places. And so now my profile has become recommended by Facebook. However you do that, I don't know. I wish I knew the secret, but I'm getting an average when I wake up in the morning. I've got probably 10 to 15 friend requests in my notifications from these random people, for lack of a better term, who I don't know, but they're finding me because Facebook is sticking me in front of them and because they're a part of this community or that community. And so that's where my growth has now been enormous. And Instagram is the other platform where, again, doing the short form video thing. Now that I did that for 29 days in a row, I don't know when I'm going to stop. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to at least do one reel a day, and probably even more in the future, because I find it interesting and fun for myself. But I also think that it's a good growth vehicle as well. And that's a place. I had a few different people contact me there and asking me if they want me to let them promote this video or that or whatever. And who knows which ones are on the up and up. I've gotten a lot more interaction and a lot more of a reach on Instagram as well. So between the two, Facebook and Instagram, which of course are both Meta platforms, I guess Meta is my weapon of choice.
Yeah, I feel the same. I definitely feel Facebook is where I get the most. I've had so many people reach out to me since January, since even just putting written posts out there for 30 days. I had so many people get to know me through the written post. I highly encourage getting on video, but if you need to start somewhere, start with letting people get to know you with your words. Create that sense of welcoming to people. Can you share maybe a memorable success story or milestone in your journey recently or before?
Yeah, certainly. The workshops that I've started doing have been really, they've been a journey and a challenge for myself to put together something like that, but also they've been such a breakthrough kind of moment for me in terms of letting me know, giving me not the validation, but the confirmation that people are out there and want to know what I can teach them. And so with my chess company, again, that's something that I do offline. And when the COVID pandemic happened, nobody could send their kids to chess class. So I blew up online. And that's how my kids in chess presence online got big. And then when everything went back to people going back into classrooms and stuff, that all was dead again. And now I'm back to teaching in classrooms. And so that was a blip. That was an outlier because we had the COVID pandemic and everything shut down. This has been more of a sustainable thing and something that I have found. The one great thing about that whole time is that with the chess is that when I was teaching online, I had never done that before, right? And so I had to learn how to use Zoom and I had to learn how to do these different things to teach my classes online to kids over a computer that I wasn't in front of. And so that was a whole challenge in itself. But what that did was it set up where I'm at now. And so now these challenges, workshops, whatever we're calling them, I call them workshops because I want them to be more of a collaborative sort of thing usually. And so these workshops that I'm hosting now have been a huge breakthrough for me because I did one at the beginning of February. I did a 5-day then. I did a 3-day that just wrapped up yesterday. And so both of them had people coming in, people interacting, people noticing what was going on. I've done some promotion, but I could do heavier promotion of them too. And so I'm learning things as I go and learning about the promotion and things like that, but also learning the tech and how to put on a production like that and the challenges you face. And so the big breakthrough has come with knowing that this idea that I had will work and that people are already paying attention and I'm just at the beginning. And so if we were talking a minute ago about putting out content and you get 3 likes or you get 12 likes or whatever, and nobody's seeing your stuff yet, already people are seeing my stuff, which is very cool. And so I just feel the sky's the limit with it, because if I'm at the beginning and I'm already getting some traction like that, once I really press for it and once I really push and figure out a good marketing strategy and a good promotional plan, and I can get that going like clockwork, right? Then things will fall into place more. But the workshops themselves, it's been really fulfilling for me to be able to get my knowledge out to people and share with them what I know and help them in their journey.
And I love your workshops. I do. Nobody talks about the tech challenges. You pay all this money for all these courses, and hardly nobody mentions the tech challenges that you're going to face when you go out there.
Yeah.
Especially with streaming live on Facebook or wherever you're streaming. Like, nobody talks about that. And I think there should be at least some part, if you're teaching a course about something like that, you need to put that in there because that you're just hit with it. And if you're brand new, you're embarrassed because this happened. And because I've done it too. I went live on Facebook, my first ever live, the whole time, and I was muted. Some people would just say, forget it. I'm not cut out for this. Tech challenges can definitely be something that can cause you to really want to just give up.
Yeah, definitely. But you can't give up. They can be solved by one person, then they can be solved. Because the tech problems that we face are all individual and different for each of us. That's the thing. My computer and my software is different than the stuff you're using. And yeah, but yeah, you got to fight through. That's for
Yep,
sure.
absolutely. And I'm glad that you talked about this because I know that's something that someone listening might be going through. What role has a mentorship played in your success?
That's been my huge catalyst, really. That's been the fire that's really gotten me going. And it took me a while to find the right mentor. And I've worked with coaches in the past and I've had mentors. Long ago, before I taught chess to kids, I used to teach guitar to kids. And I was a pretty accomplished guitar player, and I got that way taking lessons as well. I taught myself how to play for 6-7 years. I never got an instructor, but then I was stuck, and I've gotten pretty good, but I'm stuck, and I didn't feel I was growing at all. So I found somebody who could help me with that. And in chess, it was very much the same. I also played tournament chess. And I felt stuck. And I had this goal that I wanted to go to the US Open and I wanted to play in the US Open. And so I hired a coach at that time. And then not only did I go to the US Open, but I actually won my class. And so getting past that point where you're stuck, right, is the best use to me of a mentor. And ironically, what I find myself doing is I gravitate toward the beginners, which I guess that's a way of being stuck. So the clients and the people that I like to coach and kids who are beginners in chess and beginners on the guitar before that. And now with the camera confidence, people again who don't know really where to start with this and they feel overwhelmed. And so that's my niche. And that's a way of being stuck. But the interesting thing is that I've always taught myself things. And then when I get stuck is I find a mentor. And in the world of online marketing and in the world of running an online business, I had been stuck for a long time. And back in 2015, I first got Russell Brunson's book, .com Secrets, the very first book he ever wrote. And as soon as I read that, I was hooked. I was in. I'm going to do this. And I did all these things and I couldn't make it work. Then he came out with more books. He came out with courses and challenges and things. And I participated in all of them. And I still couldn't make it work. And I've got so much stuff and so much of his material. And it's not that the material doesn't work. It's just that my application of it wasn't the way it needed to be done for my situation. And I didn't realize that until my current mentor, Doug Boughton. And Doug is a 2 Comma Club award winner with Russell Brunson, and he was part of Russell's inner circle. And he's been able to, for whatever reason, a connection that we have with each other that the universe can explain, but nobody else can, who knows? But somehow his ability to express the information, the same information, but his ability to express it and to communicate it to me is what landed. And so I feel I got unstuck each step along the way in my life. Whenever I get stuck, finding a mentor has been the thing that's gotten me the breakthrough. And so the role of mentorship has been enormous. I can't give it enough credit, and I can't give Doug enough credit now because I say we're in 2024 here. So for pretty much a decade, I have been trying to get going with an online business of some kind. And the only time it worked at all was during the pandemic when kids couldn't go to chess class. And so that's not a sustainable model, right? So coming up with the strategies and the actions and the things that I need to do to go in the right direction has all been due to my involvement with Doug as my current mentor. Just having somebody to show you the way in a way that lands with you and in a way that resonates with you is really the ultimate.
Doug has truly changed my life. Same boat as you, but mine's been 20 years that I've been starting and stopping and multiple businesses and even opened my own business in my local area and everything. And yeah, I definitely get that. So what would your advice be for someone that is stuck out there? Maybe they're listening to this. What would you tell them?
You definitely need to find a mentor. Okay, that's the bottom line. The thing about selecting a mentor, that's where it can get tricky because there are a lot of people out there, I'll say, who have very good marketing and sales tactics and make it look like they're the guy, right? Or they're the girl, they're the woman, they're the whatever it is that's going to lead you to the promised land. And I don't want to say that any of them are being underhanded, or some of them are, though. Let's be real. So the tricky part is trying to suss out which is the right mentor for you. And so the only real advice that I can give on that is to try to find some way that you can work with that person where you can get to know whether the relationship is going to work before you heavily invest in something. If there's a course online that you found and it's $997, but you don't know anything about that person, that's a situation where I would recommend to pump the brakes a little and try and figure out, okay, here's this course, and this course looks really great, and I'm really interested in this, and it looks like exactly what I need, but maybe it is, and it's just not the right person. It's not the right mentor. It's not the right fit. I would encourage people to do as much investigating as they can, but really the only thing that you're going to be able to do that's going to tell you is to jump in and get involved. And the best way to do that, I think, is to try, for instance, with Doug, he has material that's available free, right? And you can get into a free challenge, a free community. There are different options for that he has that you can get some free material and actually work with him and actually see him live, not just PDFs and videos and things like that, because that, yes, there's something to be said for those things as well, but working with somebody directly. And that's with my workshop. One of the things that I want to do is I want to be there live for people and interact with them for free so they can see, hey, this guy can help me. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I would recommend is try, if you're looking for a mentor, try and find somebody who's willing to work with you to some extent for free. And you won't get everything for free all the time. Okay. So I'm not saying that you should be a freeloader your whole life and try and get everything, be a tire kicker and try and get everything you can from everywhere for free. But what I'm recommending is that once you find that person that can help you, then it's time to invest. But take your time first to figure out who that is. And the people who have the confidence in what they're teaching, like Doug, the people who have the confidence that know that when you get to know them, they will be able to show you that they can help you and that they are legit. Those are the people who will give away things for free because they know, they have the confidence and they have the faith that you're going to find that, yes, this person can help me and now I'm ready to invest.
The 5-day challenge that Doug does, you get to know his community and you get to know him. I know that I reached out to you during that challenge. I offered support and went talk to you and we got to know each other. If you join a 5-day challenge like that, it's good also to get to know the people in the community because that's where you're going to find, is this person real? Are they just, for the 5 days, they're just faking it? No, if you get to know the people in the community, I think that there is a lot of people showing up to every one of his 5-day challenges without even being asked. We're not asked to go. We just do it because we want to show support for him. We know that it works with your workshop. I show up because I loved your first one and I'm going to show up to every single workshop that I can for you because of what you're doing. And I want to show support. 5-day challenges is honestly my pick on finding a mentor because you get 5 days to know that person. You get to know the people in their community, people who have already taken their courses or went through their big programs.
You know, recently you did this Instagram series on your values, and I think that is so unique. I'd love for you, if you don't mind, to share about what role that plays in your business.
Sure. Yeah. The kind of goal of all that really is to give people something that can help them do the same. And so where I was in life at various times through my life, I've sat down, and I've been doing this probably for 20 years or more, sitting down every once in a while and figuring out, defining my values for myself to decide how I want to live. That's a first step that many people, I feel, aren't taking, where they inherit their values from other areas and from their influences like their parents or other leaders in their world. And so to consciously sit down and decide on those things is a breakthrough in itself, because you can now identify, okay, this is how I want to be. The other part of that, though, that never came around for me until recently is that I would sit down and I would mark out these values, right? And I would decide, okay, these are the things that are important to me. And yeah, I would feel that. And it was in there, but I found also that I wasn't necessarily living by some of them because they weren't front and center. And so just as easily and quickly as you can establish something like that, you can also let it fall by the wayside and go back to the way you were living. And so in order to lock in, what I did was I created an action step basically for each one. And so the most recent time that I sat down, I came out with 8 values. And so what I found was that I laid out those values and then decided, okay, how am I not going to fall apart this time? How am I going to make sure I'm maintaining my life in this way? And of course, if something doesn't work at the end of the day, you get rid of it and you replace it. So if I find I'm not locking in for the rest of my life, okay, these are my 8 values. They've changed over time. And when I had my daughter, that changed everything, created an entire new set of values. And the big thing was, I think for me, locking it in by creating action steps. And one of my values is integrity. One is commitment. One is benevolence. One is productivity. One is love, growth. So what am I going to do, right? So growth as a value is a nice value to have, but what am I doing, right? What's the action I'm going to take every day? So I have commitment, again, as a value. What are the different actions that I'm going to take? I have those action steps written out. And so one of the actions in the action steps is to read the action steps frequently throughout the day. And that was my commitment action, because what I found was commitment's important to me, but I was letting things get in the way, and I was not fulfilling on my own commitments to myself a lot of times because I was letting something else get in the way. And my commitment action step is to commit to the action steps. What it does is now I read those action steps multiple times a day, right? So now I can check myself and I can be, okay, here's an area where I wasn't really as focused today as I would have liked to have been. So now I'm locked back in on that. And now I can make it an effort. I can make a special effort to take that and put it at the forefront for the rest of the day, or for at least one thing that I needed to do. And so that was really the key to living them, was creating an action step for each of them. But I really do encourage everyone to create a list of values, whether it's 10 or 3 or whatever it is. The number's not important. And this is hard to do for some people, but think about, as you reach the end of your life, what do you want people to say about you? And I don't mean just people, the people that are important to you, but what do you want to be your legacy? Because if you don't define that, your legacy is going to be whatever it winds up being. If you take hold of that and you create the direction to point yourself in the direction of the legacy you want, that's how you get it done. And that's how you achieve that. And the way to do that is through your values, as far as I'm concerned. That's how you get there. And sit down and figure out what's important to you by figuring out, how do I want things to be when it's all over? How do I want people to think of me that are important to me, my family, my close friends, the people who I've affected through my business or whatever it may be? And maybe business isn't a value for you. That's what I mean. That's the whole point of the exercise, is sit down and figure those things out and really clearly define them. And then from there, you have a basis that you can now say, okay, this is how I want to live. I want to be remembered as a person of integrity. That means that I need to live a life of integrity. So what does that mean? And how do I do that? And now you've got a clear path, right? As opposed to just having these ideas in your head of, this is who I want to be. You now have a clear path of, I want to be a person of integrity. I want to be a person who has grown and learned throughout life. I want to be a person who has contributed massively to making the world a better place. That's another one of my values. So different things that you want to do and that you want to be known for and you want to be remembered for because it's important to you. Those are the things to define. And then that's where your values come from, and you can get a real good hold on them and figure out how to get there.
Wow, that is so powerful. And having that action step that you can take to make sure that you live those values and portray that to everybody. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. And I've just loved being able to look at all your experiences and hear the inspiring things, the tips and tricks for getting out there on camera and putting yourself out there. One of the biggest things that my podcast is about going outside your comfort zone and getting encouraged. So I definitely feel you were one of the ones that really stood out to me that is going out there and teaching people to do that. So I really appreciate you sitting down with me today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Coena. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reach more people. And that's what I do, is try and inspire and motivate and show people the way, and as best I can and as best as I know. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
How can people get in touch with you? Do you have a website, social media? Where would you want them to connect with you at?
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's Rob Soul, and that's Soul. And that is just my personal profile page there. I do have a company page for Soul Source Studios, and that can be connected through my personal page and all that. It may be, I'm more active right now. The Soul Source Studios page is brand new. I didn't have a Facebook presence at all, and it's got 20 or 30 followers at this point, but not all that many. I'm checking in there and posting there occasionally. I'm much more active on my personal page, so that's probably the primary way to find me over there. And then on Instagram, it is at Your Soul Source. So YOUR and then Soul, SOUL, source, so that I can be your sole source for all your production needs and all your any confidence on camera and all that kind of stuff. Social media presence. That is what I'm looking to do, is to help people in those ways. Yeah. So those are the ways to find me.
Is there any last thoughts, final things that you'd like to say?
The only thing I want to say to people out there, anybody listening who they are in that place where they don't know exactly where they're going to start or they don't know exactly what to do, is just start. Do something, right? YouTube is a great treasure trove of all kinds of advice and things. You have to be picky and choosy about what you follow, of course, but there are a lot of people out there who want to help you get your message out there. I'm one of them. I'm not the only one. Find somebody, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, but find somebody who will be willing to show you a little bit of few of the things anyway that you can do to start, because starting is probably the most important thing. And once you get started, you're past that point now, and you can figure out, first of all, if you even like it. There's people who think that they want to be influencers or whatever, and then they get out onto social media and they decide, this is horrible. I don't want any part of this. And so that's how you find out, is you start. And so not starting is going to be the one thing that is going to hold anybody back. And I know that sounds so obvious, right? But you've got this counterintuitive thing in the human mind where your brain is always concerned with survival and not putting yourself out there and not risking. And fighting through that is difficult for a lot of people. And I would encourage you to just take action of some kind. Take action. Do it. Do something. Whether it's, you say, starting with a written content post on social media and doing something like that once a day to get started. And it doesn't have to be 15 pages, right? Most people won't. It's TLDR, too long didn't read. Most people are going to treat it that way, especially if you're a new creator. So punchy, short, simple, just a paragraph, just a couple sentences. Put something out there for people that you are wanting to express. And just start somewhere.
Thank you for tuning in to the Invisible Marketer podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to access today's show notes or get in touch with our guest Rob, be sure to visit invisiblemarketer.com/soul, SOUL. And don't forget to hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest episodes. Join us next time as we continue to uncover unique strategies and continue to empower you to go out and share your superpower.